Today I am participating in a terrific new collaboration called Flour It Up. It is being hosted by Amy and Ashley Martin of Martin Midlife Misadventures. Amy and Ashley live in an RV, 8,000 feet elevation. They are DIYers, off-gridders, preppers, and all around very nice people. So Ashley does all the cooking from scratch, everything. And she came up with this great collaboration, Flour It Up, to just teach people how to be more self-sufficient and use what's in your pantry. Not everything has to be pre-made. And so far she's come up with some amazing recipes and amazing rolls and pizza and all sorts of stuff in this Flour It Up collaboration. So I'm excited to finally join. And today I'm going to be doing a fruit pie from scratch, nectarines and pears from scratch, pie crust from scratch, and in addition to making a pie right on the spot, I'm going to be freezing a pre-made pie, a made pie, unbaked pie, and then I am going to be taking it out of the freezer and baking it from frozen, and we'll see how that works too. So let's get started. Well, I have a couple bags of soft nectarines and several soft pears. So I'm going to go ahead and start preparing them. I'm going to cut these up, take the bottom and top off, cut them up, take out the core maybe, and definitely take the pit out of these. All right, I have my nectarines and pears all cut up, and it made up a bit more than I anticipated, but the fruit was in really good condition, so I didn't need to toss too many out. I'm going to add right now half a cup of flour, a little more than half a cup, and I'm going to add a little more than half a cup of sugar. I might add more sugar. I'm going to think about it. And then 2 teaspoons of nutmeg and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Ever since I had nutmeg in that peach pie that I made from a friend's canned peaches a few weeks ago, I've really become a fan of nutmeg in pies and fruit pies. But that is a personal decision. If you're not a fan of nutmeg, either don't use nutmeg or use less nutmeg. All right, so I'm going to slowly and carefully mix this all up. We'll see how this goes. I might need a bigger bowl to make sure this is all well mixed. I think I do need a bigger bowl. Well, here's the big bowl. If you watch my hauls, you know that I got this huge Tupperware bowl at the dump store maybe a summer or two ago, but definitely for coating everything, you need to have more room than I had in that smaller bowl. So I'm going to be working on this, and I'll be right back. And here it is nicely coated, and I'm going to set this aside while I make the crust. Okay, so let's get ready with the crust. I'm going to put in 2 cups of flour. Sometimes I just use white flour. Sometimes I use 1 cup white flour, 1 cup wheat flour. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to put in 1 cup of wheat flour and 1 cup of white flour, half a teaspoon of salt, and a tablespoon of sugar. I'm going to mix this up real well so that the salt, the sugar, and the flours get completely blended. Take me a minute or 2 here. You don't want to take a bite out of the pie and get a big taste of salt or something like that. It's good that it's all completely blended. That looks great. I'm going to use a stick and a half of margarine. You can use butter too, but I think margarine is just fine. I use this Earth Balance. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So a stick and a half. I'm going to cut this one in half, use this whole one, and then I'm going to chop these up into little chunks. Here it is all chunked up, so I'm going to go ahead and put it into the flour mixture just like that. I have my pastry blender. You can do this in the mixer too. And I'm just going to go and scrunch it down until it's fairly well incorporated. Doesn't need to be completely blended in, but the flour and margarine or butter mixture should look like crumbly little pebbles. So this will take me a few minutes, and I'll be back momentarily. Here's what it looks like all mixed up there, kind of crumbly. I'm going to add some cold water, about a third to half a cup. I just kind of eyeball it. But I always keep a jar of cold water in the refrigerator for this because lately I've been making a lot of pies and quiches and stuff like that. And since you need cold water, I always have it on hand. So I'm going to add that in right now. Just going to pour a little bit in like that. And what I'm going to do is just start kneading it with my hands. And when it holds together, then I know I have enough water, and it looks like it's going to hold together. I think I put about a third of a cup in here. You know, start small and just see how it goes for you. And here it is in a ball. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for a few minutes to cool down again before I roll it out. It's warmed up with my cutting the margarine in and then with kneading it by hand. It really is best if it's really cold for rolling out. So I'll be back momentarily. So I have my parchment paper out here. I'm ready to begin rolling on it. I have three containers for the pie. One of them is this cast iron frying pan, which I'm actually going to be baking in. And then I have these 2 containers, smaller ones with lids, that I'm going to be freezing. So let's get started. I have a little less than half of the chilled dough here. So I'm going to put this on. I put some flour here. I'm going to take my rolling pin, roll it out, and then we'll proceed to the next part. If it starts to get sticky, I put a little bit of flour on top too. I'm trying to make this as round as possible. There's a technique in some of these Eastern European cooking and baking videos that I watch, and somehow they turn the dough in such a way that they get a perfect circle. I have to actually just study that at one point because I do not get a perfect circle, but that's okay. It's a galette, so it doesn't have to be perfect, and that's why I do galettes. I'm going to have to mend that little spot right there. All right, the dough for the cast iron pie pan is ready. Here it is. And you're going to see the genius of this when I just lower it like that into the frying pan. This goes perfectly. There you go, and I just leave it in there. I just leave the parchment paper in there. I'm going to cut that extra stuff off in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and get my filling and start putting the filling in this. I have preheated the oven to 425, and after 20 minutes I'm going to bring it down to 375. I'm going to go ahead and fill this pretty full because this fruit tends to cook down quite a bit. I'm just going to put that in there, just like that. It smells really good, I will say. It smells like nutmeg and cinnamon and all those nice flavors you expect from a fall fruit pie. There you go, that's about right. So now I'm going to take those edges, which I've already peeled off the parchment paper, and just fold them over the galette like that. And sometimes some of the juices or the pie juices seep through, and it used to bother me. Now it's whatever. They do what they want to do. We're not going for the blue ribbon at the county fair. We're just trying to make a pie here. And this is what it looks like. It looks pretty good, doesn't it? I'm going to put it in the oven right now. And here's my nectarine pear pie all done. Smells delicious. All right, here are my 2 freezer ready crusts, and I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the filling in these 2. I'm thinking I might have a little bit left over, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Really, this came out to be a lot of filling. So I'm going to fill this one up, then the other one, and we'll see what we got going at that point. Just can't get over how good this smells. Yeah, I'm going to have some left over. Okay, that's about right. I don't want it too high because I'm going to be putting a lid on this. But here we are. They're both filled up, and I'm going to roll the crust down on top of it now, galette style, just like this. We're having some breakage here. I really need to learn how to roll dough out appropriately. I love making pies, and everyone loves eating them, but the actual implementation of the crust is always kind of problematic. All right, there's one done. And I'm going to go ahead and do the second one. And here they both are with the crust rolled down. And here are my 2 pies ready for the freezer. I cut the parchment paper up around the edge to reduce bulk and allow the lid to close. When I'm ready to bake, I'll take them out of the freezer, pull the pie out using the parchment paper as a sling, I guess, and put it right into the cast iron frying pan that I like to use. So I am going to now bake this pie from frozen. I just took it out of the freezer. It's still in this little container. I have preheated the oven to 425. I like to do 425 for the first 20 minutes and 375 afterwards. Evidently it makes for a better crust. I read that someplace. So I've taken it out. Again, you can see it's totally frozen, and I'm going to just lift it out of the container here with the parchment paper and set it in the cast iron, and I'm going to put it in the oven until it's done, just like that, frozen. Well, here it is. Just pulled it out of the oven. It was about an hour, give or take. That's going to depend on the size of your pie. I'm going to let this cool for a little while, then pull it out of the pan here and set it out on a plate and give it a try. Well, here it is. It was very easy to transfer. I just pulled on that parchment paper, lifted it up, and put it on a plate. You do have to let it cool a little bit, otherwise it's going to break up. Well, I'm going to cut myself a piece and try it live, and we'll see how it came out. Well, let's give it a try. So far, so good. The crust underneath was nicely baked. The crust was baked nicely all the way through, and I cut myself a piece, and I've got myself a fork, so let's give it a try. Perfectly fine, perfectly delicious, perfectly baked through. Definitely a winner. So this was the first time I've actually done this. I made a pie and frozen it. And if you do it, you can do any size you want. I like the little sizes because it's great if you have a guest come over you and the guest can polish up a pie without any leftovers. And that just works for me. It's also a good way, if you're already in the pie making mood, to just make a bunch of pies. You don't have to eat them all at once. Put them in the freezer. Take them out when you feel like it. Right now I have more nectarines and I have some apples, and I'm going to be doing some more crusts and just stacking up a bunch of those round plastic containers with pies for later use. So thank you so much for watching, and again, I encourage you to go visit Ashley and Amy on Martin Midlife Misadventures and join the collaboration, #FlourItUp.